Adolf Hitler's name is tied to bad memories of the 1900s. His legacy is one of darkness and destruction, a shadow that looms over history. He's one of history's worst guys, a figure whose actions led to untold suffering and devastation. His name means tyranny, killing many people, and the horrors of World War II. The atrocities committed under his regime are a stark reminder of the depths of human cruelty. This video will explore Hitler's life, from his tough early years to his quick rise to power. We'll delve into the factors that shaped him and the path he took to become a dictator. We'll look into his dark ideas and the terrible things he did. His ideology was rooted in hatred and bigotry, leading to some of the most heinous crimes in history. Finally, we'll see how his rule changed the world forever. The aftermath of his reign left Europe in ruins and led to significant geopolitical shifts. Hitler's life, though it ended badly, started like many others. He was not born a monster, but his choices and beliefs led him down a dark path. He was born in Austria in 1889 in a small town called Braunau am Inn. His early environment and family life played a crucial role in shaping his worldview. His early life was both normal and troubled. He faced many challenges, including a strict father and a desire to pursue art, which was not supported by his family. Understanding his childhood helps us understand the man he became. His experiences in school and his early failures contributed to his later radicalization. His path to becoming a dictator was filled with anger, ambition, and a twisted view of the world. The aftermath of World War I and the Treaty of Versailles fueled his rise. This video will show how Hitler, a failed artist, became the leader of Nazi Germany. His early aspirations in art were crushed, leading him to politics. We'll see how he used Germany's post-war shame and bad economy. He exploited the nation's vulnerabilities to gain support and power. With propaganda and lies, he tricked a nation, leading it to destruction. His ability to manipulate and deceive was key to his control. Even though Hitler lost the war, his actions still scare us. The impact of his regime is a constant reminder of the dangers of unchecked power. The Holocaust, the systematic killing of Jews and other minorities, reminds us how bad humans can be. It stands as one of the darkest chapters in human history. Studying Hitler's rise and fall warns us about the dangers of too much power and the appeal of hate. It is a lesson in the importance of vigilance and the need to stand against tyranny. Adolf Hitler's early life was a mix of normal and hard times. His childhood was marked by both moments of joy and periods of hardship, which would later shape his complex personality. Born in Braunau am Inn, Austria, on April 20, 1889, Hitler's early environment was a small town that reflected the typical Austrian life of the late 19th century. He was the fourth of 6 kids growing up in a large family that had its own set of challenges and dynamics. His dad, Alois, worked for the government, and his mum, Clara, was a stay-at-home mum. Alois's job provided a stable income, but it also meant he was often away, leaving Clara to manage the household. On the outside, their life seemed regular, a typical family navigating the ups and downs of daily life. But things weren't so simple at home. Beneath the surface, there were tensions and conflicts that would leave a lasting impact on young Adolf. Alois was strict and bossy, often imposing his will on the family. His authoritarian nature created a tense atmosphere. Young Adolf often fought with his dad about his future. These arguments were frequent and intense, reflecting their clashing visions for Adolf's life. Alois wanted his son to work for the government, but Adolf wanted to be an artist. This fundamental disagreement created a rift between them. These fights with his dad, along with failing in school, made Hitler resentful. His academic struggles only added to his feelings of inadequacy and frustration. He felt like no one understood him. This sense of isolation grew as he found it difficult to connect with his peers and family. As a teenager, he felt alone and lived in a fantasy world. He often retreated into his imagination, dreaming of a different life. During these years, Hitler's twisted view of the world started to grow. His isolation and resentment began to shape his ideology. He became a strong German nationalist, influenced by the anti-Semitism of the time. The political climate of early 20th century Europe fed into his growing prejudices. These prejudices, which grew when he was young, would later become the base of his hateful ideas. The seeds of discontent planted in his youth would eventually lead to one of history's darkest chapters. World War I in 1914 changed Hitler's life. Feeling patriotic like many Germans, he joined the army. He was a good soldier and even won a medal for bravery. But the war changed him deeply, shaping his ideas and making him more extreme. The war showed Hitler the horrors of fighting. He saw the death and destruction. It also made his German nationalism stronger. He believed that Germany was meant to be great and had been betrayed by its enemies. When Germany lost in 1918, Hitler was angry and ashamed. He didn't accept the Treaty of Versailles, which he saw as a punishment. The bad economy and political problems after the war made him even angrier. During this time of anger and disappointment, Hitler's political ideas became clear. He believed in extreme nationalism, hated Jews, and thought the Aryan race was better than others. He saw himself as a chosen one, meant to make Germany powerful again. After World War I, Germany was a mess. The economy was bad, many people were jobless, and extreme political groups were growing. This is where Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party started to gain power. People were drawn to Hitler's charisma and angry speeches. He gave them someone to blame for their problems: Jews, communists, and the government. He promised to bring back national pride and make Germany rich again. In 1923, Hitler and his followers tried to take over the government in Munich. This failed coup is called the Beer Hall Putsch. Hitler was arrested and went to jail, but his trial made him famous and helped spread his hateful message. In jail, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, My Struggle, a hateful book about his political beliefs. This book became the plan for Nazi Germany, filled with racism, anti-Semitism, and the desire to rule the world. After leaving jail, Hitler was even more determined to take power legally. Section 5. The Nazi grip: terror, propaganda, and total control. By the early 1930s, the Nazi Party had become a significant force in German politics, gaining momentum and influence rapidly. The Nazis cleverly exploited the widespread economic despair caused by the Great Depression, appealing to those desperate for change and promising a way out of the crisis. Adolf Hitler, with his charismatic oratory and grand promises of a prosperous future, emerged as a beacon of hope for many disillusioned Germans. In January 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany, marking the beginning of a new and ominous chapter in German history. Once in power, Hitler wasted no time in consolidating his control, swiftly transforming Germany into a totalitarian state where dissent was not tolerated. The Enabling Act of 1933 granted Hitler unprecedented powers, effectively dismantling the democratic Weimar Republic and establishing Nazi dominance. The Nazis moved quickly to eliminate opposition, arresting and silencing anyone who dared to speak out against them. Political adversaries were either imprisoned or executed, and labor unions were forcibly disbanded to prevent any organized resistance. The regime imposed strict censorship on the press, curtailing freedom of speech and ensuring that only Nazi-approved messages were disseminated. A pervasive atmosphere of fear and surveillance gripped the nation, as ordinary citizens were constantly monitored and encouraged to report any anti-Nazi sentiments. Propaganda became a crucial tool for the Nazis, who used it to manipulate public opinion and maintain their hold on power. Joseph Goebbels, the mastermind behind Nazi propaganda, skillfully utilized radio broadcasts, films, and newspapers to spread the party's ideology and glorify Hitler. The Nazis relentlessly portrayed Jews as the enemies of the state, using vicious propaganda to incite hatred and justify their persecution. Through relentless propaganda, Hitler was depicted as a visionary leader destined to restore Germany to greatness, solidifying his cult of personality and ensuring unwavering loyalty from the populace. World War II changed the world forever. From the blitzkrieg attacks that quickly took over Europe to the terrible battles in the East, the war changed countries and lives. The Axis powers, led by Germany, Italy and Japan, wanted to rule through force and terror. The Allies, including the United States, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom and others, fought back. The war caused unbelievable destruction. Cities were destroyed and millions of people died. The Holocaust, the planned killing of millions of people, especially Jews, by the Nazis, was a terrible crime. The world would never be the same. The war's end changed the world map and led to the Cold War. A legacy of horror, a warning for the future. After World War II, the world saw how terrible the Nazis were. The Nuremberg trials punished Nazi war criminals, but the damage took a long time to heal. The United Nations was created to stop another world war, promoting peace between countries, but the lessons of the war are still important today. The dangers of too much power, aggressive nationalism, and intolerance remind us of the past. As we remember the horrors of World War II, we must work together to create a world without such terrible acts. The war's legacy is a serious warning, telling us to build a future of peace, justice, and kindness.